HVAC 360 is brought to you today by Stranger Things Season 3, now streaming on Netflix. You know, if you grew up in the 80s and haven't watched the Netflix series Stranger Things, you're really missing out. The Duffer Brothers have done it again with this third season of the show, set in the sleepy town of Hawkins, Indiana. Personally, I love the show. They're not really a sponsor, but I just wanted to give them props, give them a shout out. And, you know, I love it. And everybody I mention, or who I know actually who watches the show, loves it too. So treat yourself this summer and start watching it today. Hey everybody, Matt Nelson here, your host for HVAC 360, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. Each week I'm either sharing information and lessons learned from the field or talking with industry experts. But I'm not doing that this week. This week we're going to have some summer fun with the Netflix series Stranger Things. So why am I doing this episode? Well, oftentimes I'm watching a medical show or a show that involves a hospital with my wife, who is a healthcare professional, and she comments on things that are wrong with the scenes, things that medically just wouldn't happen. It's not the right process. It's not the right way they would handle it. And she can't really help it. You know, I mean, when you're a medical professional, that just happens. Now, it seems that I can't either when it comes to building, construction, and HVAC. So that happened this time with Stranger Things. I mean, but, you know, to be honest, we all know that crimes aren't solved in 30 minutes. And the same can be said for the medical shows. We really have to give Hollywood a break to be able to tell a story quickly when the situation requires it. You know, funny enough, when I was watching the Stranger Things, I can see that the Stranger Things series have these exact same shortcuts that are very stereotypical across Hollywood. But, you know, they almost make them so over the top that they're almost trying to make them a parody. I don't really want to take them very seriously at all. Let it go, whatever, but it's just, as a HVAC professional, I just have to point it out. So I just wanted to have this episode just to kick these things around, get them out in the open, get them off my chest, and talk about it a little bit. So there's these 5 things. So having said that, I must say that this episode may contain spoilers, so be fair warned. It shouldn't really impact your enjoyment of the episodes, not really, really in any much way. I mean, I don't give anything away. Besides, most of the items, you've seen them time and time again in movie after movie. All right. Item number 1, the thermometer. In this series, there is a sauna scene. Now, the sauna, it's involved, and they're trying to apply heat to somebody. And, they're like, okay, is it going to be enough heat? And one of the characters goes up to the thermometer on the wall and says, yep, it goes up to 220. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? I'm like, why would you have a thermometer for a sauna that goes up to 220 degrees? I mean, understand that a fever is 105 degrees. So if at 220, you're going to be melting people. I mean, honestly, you're not going to get, that close, but you see it time and time again in certain situations, even in HVAC, that if a thermometer is supposed to be on a chilled water system, it'll have a certain range. And if it's supposed to be on a heating water system, it'll have a certain range as well. So if somebody was dealing in comfort, you wouldn't think that they would use less than half the dial. If it went to 220, I understand that's going to be around 105, maybe 110, and it's only going to be some sort of transient that you're going to be in the sauna, come out of the sauna, cool off. So it's not going to affect you that much. But to just go up to it and say, yep, this goes up to 220, and then everybody thinking, I'm like, okay, it must go up to 220. And it's like, no, that's not right. So that bugged me. Item number 2, there are construction plans in these episodes. Now, that being said, the character went to go get a set of the mall plans from the county clerk, county something or other. And, she came back with these drawings. Now, she had 2 drawings, one architectural and one mechanical. so they could kind of plan their route to the space they were trying to get to. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, I have never seen a set of drawings with two plans. I mean, my house that was built, in the 70s, really, it had probably, at least 5 sets of drawings, or not 5 sets of drawings, but 5 drawings in the set. And they were absolutely awful. They gave a couple of dimensions, but I mean, for me, knowing what really commercial drawings look like, there'd be no way that they'd have this. And in fact, if you think about it, a mall is a huge building, and that's what the plans were for. The mall was a huge building, and you would not have one single plan for the entire building, one architectural plan for the entire building. It just doesn't work like that. And even if she just bought those 2 sheets, it still wouldn't have the detail that she'd need to be able to really make that kind of decision. Another thing about the show, clearly, it clearly showed, this whole plan, this one mechanical plan, clearly showed the path from one location to another. That's just not going to happen. And it was, obviously they'd have to think, oh, it's the same size from one location to another. And there was nothing in the way. It was just a long straight shot to get to the location. All right, okay, Hollywood, I'll give it to you. In the real world, you actually can go to, say, the county. I mean, part of it's true. You could go to the government plans examiner and take a look at the plans. Now, I've been involved in a couple of projects recently where, because of security and safety, they're not going to just let you take copies of the plan and distribute them. They're going to be able to. You can look at them. So since they're public knowledge, you can actually look at it and you can sign up. But they'll know who looked at them, and they're not going to let you take copies of that. On the other hand, there are things that are not necessarily available to the general public, or they could be, but they're typically offered to the contractors and the builders' exchanges. Now, builders' exchanges are all around the country. Every major metropolitan city has one, at least, I think. And with a membership, you're able to look at, they'll actually compile all the public bid jobs that are going on in your neighborhood. So, in fact, you'll be able to see an entire set of drawings. Be able to see all the plans. You'll be able to see all the specifications for a particular job. But they won't have any of the private bid jobs. It'll just be public jobs or jobs that are being bid publicly. So, having said that, I don't know if the mall necessarily would have plans located at the county. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But I'm going to let it slide. Again, it's Hollywood. Number 3, the ductwork. Oh, this was going to be on the list. You just knew it. Shiny and new, well lit. It didn't really even oil can when they moved around. There were no fasteners poking through the sheet metal on the inside to rip and make them bleed. And they were, it was just big enough for them. And this was one of the things that I could tell right from the get-go. You immediately set it off. You're like, all the characters look at each other and how we're going to go and how are we going to get there? And they all turn and they look at the wall, and there's a grill. And you're like, oh no, not this again. Oh, no, they don't. And sure enough, they did. So they did that to get to the special room. All right. So number 4, the elevator. There is an elevator in this particular series. It is a virtual mine shaft. Now, when you look at an elevator, any sort of, when they show the top of the elevator, if they have cables attached to them, it's going to be a traction type elevator. There's some of the ones that are hydraulic that are just a couple floors. They actually have hydraulics that it's going to push it up from the bottom, up and down. But the traction elevator has, the coils of wires up top and lowers it and raises it with, counterweight systems and things like that. That is, generally speaking, and I'm not an elevator expert, but that's what they refer to as a traction elevator. However, I do know that since you have to have spools of wire and big machines to cool it and hold it and big motors and everything like that, there would be no way that they could hide or conceal this type of, elevator mine shaft elevator for this particular mall. So I'm not going to tell you why it was there, but I'm just saying it would have stuck out like a sore thumb, or at least had this, weird sort of outgrowth right above where that elevator was. Don't buy it, but again, Hollywood, have your fun. All right, the last one, number 5. Number 5 is going to be the fan. Now, I see this time and time again. Invariably, the heroes run into a fan. Now, it's not just any fan. It's always, always, always a prop fan. Now, if you have a fan and you have ductwork, it is never going to be a prop fan. I'm sorry, it's just not. Prop fans are used for moving large amounts of air with low static. If you have ductwork, that is going to be a high static situation. You're going to have a different type of fan that you're going to have to move air. However, those type of fans, you're not getting around. Whether it's a vane axial, whether it's a centrifugal fan, you're not going to get through that piece of ductwork. You have to get out and back in to get around it. You can't go through it. It's just not physically possible. But a prop fan, you can. Having done that, obviously there is some way that they need to stop it. Now, mind you, they're sitting there looking at the prop fan. You can see the prop fan, it's moving, but there is no airflow. I mean, the one thing the prop fan does is move air. So they should be blowing in the wind. Their hair should be blowing in the wind, but it's not. So it's just sitting there circulating and, doing what? I don't know, but it's not moving air. So they have to disconnect it. Well, conveniently, there's a junction box inside the ductwork. Now, again, this would never happen. There would never be a disconnect, let alone, now it wasn't a disconnect, but it would never be a junction box inside of the ductwork. There would never be any access from inside the ductwork. You'd have to go outside, turn it off, disconnect it, and go through. Now, again, most of these, if it was a prop fan, it would invariably have some sort of screen on the inlet side. That's not only to protect the motor, but to protect the fan from anything that invariably would be sucked in to that situation. Again, you keep fingers and hands and things like that away from it so you don't get chopped off. But in this case, there was nothing. It was just a straight shot. You could see a couple supports through it, and there was only three vanes. So there were only 3 blades, rather. 3 blades to this, so you could easily slip by it. Now, again, if there were moving air, you'd probably have more than 3 blades on this prop fan. But, again, Hollywood, you have us. You want to entertain us. You're successful. We'll just move past this and enjoy the rest of the show. All right. Well, thanks so much for listening. Hope this was fun. If you know somebody who's looking for a laugh, consider this passing it along. There's a little bit of education in here, but not much. Just me kind of ranting and raving. So, again, if you're not a subscriber, continue or consider joining the community of people just like you over at HVAC360.com for some more weekly goodness. I would be greatly appreciated if you leave me a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. I'm also simulcasting on YouTube. If you normally listen to this on your podcast app, consider just jumping on over to YouTube, looking up HVAC 360, and subscribing. Even if you don't ever view it over there, I'd really appreciate it. The more people I get to sign up, the more fun things that I get to do and pass along to you. Also, hey, I haven't done this in a while, but I wanted to get this out here. I wanted to give shout-outs to those people who did leave me reviews. I have 3 of them. So we have John S.C. Lee, we have Leighton Mechanic, and we have Harrington M318. All right, I wanted to really thank those 3 individuals. I really appreciate it. I know it's not necessarily easy sometimes to stop what you're doing and leave a rating and review, but it is greatly appreciated. It helps everybody get this information, spread the word, and help educate everybody in HVAC. All right, well, that's a wrap for this episode of HVAC 360. I'm Matt Nelson, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. And as always, know what you build and share what you know.